In a church ignited by the fire of truth, cognitive conflicts are bound to arise. Because everyone receives truth, whether it's through the internet or church gatherings, or through personal insight, each person gradually develops their own framework and logic for understanding truth. Everyone builds up their own knowledge, their own perspective and framework, and naturally, they form personal interpretations of the Bible and their own understanding of truth, as well as their own lifestyle, worldview, and values, in every aspect. So, what about the framework each of us has? Will they end up clashing? There are bound to be areas of conflict. That means there will be clashes of faith. Everyone has their own perspective. People will take different positions. But isn't that actually a good thing? The Gospel of Luke says, "I came to set fire to the earth." Wow. Jesus came to ignite a fire. Don't think I came to bring peace to the world. Don't assume I'm the Son of Peace. Let me tell you, I didn't come to bring peace to the earth. I came to stir up division. You'll notice Jesus. Are you the one who brings division among people? So what does peace really mean? Do you think I came to bring peace to the earth? This peace refers to harmony. Conflict here means people splitting into different groups. Then Jesus said, He longs for the sacrifice He will make on the cross. See, it says here, I have a baptism to undergo, and it hasn't been accomplished yet. How deeply I long for it to be completed. This means Jesus is about to go to the cross. This is the baptism He must go through. He longs for what will be accomplished through His sacrifice on the cross, so that God's powerful life can be released, to spark a global hunger for truth. That's what He meant when He said He would send fire. Jesus said, He came into the world to kindle a fire. What He longed for was to see people become passionate and persistent in their search for truth. So that's the reason for kindling the fire. It's to ignite your passion. It's like when we're having a barbecue outside or cooking a meal outdoors. We need a spark to get the fire going. The goal is to get the wood burning, so the food we put on can be cooked. That's what Jesus meant by sending fire. Jesus wanted that through His sacrifice on the cross. He could ignite people's deep commitment to the truth, a fiery devotion, and this passionate devotion could become truly contagious. Jesus hoped that the pursuit of truth would spread like wildfire and be truly infectious. That's why it says here, if the fire has already started, isn't that exactly what I desire? So Jesus is just a fire, but He wants it to become a blazing fire. Just like when we grill meat, cooking outdoors. I was trying to start a fire, but it just wouldn't light for the longest time. Wouldn't you feel frustrated? You can't just strike a match and expect the soup to be cooked. What you really hope is that when you toss in the match, there's already something to catch the spark. That way, the whole pile of charcoal will ignite. This is what Jesus hopes for with the truth, the impact that comes after it's set ablaze. When the fire of truth burns fiercely on earth, there won't be any Christians sitting on the fence. There won't be any neutral parties. They'll be consumed by the fire. The impurities within their lives are burned away. Believers are no longer content to remain lukewarm or weak. They can no longer compromise with ideas that only seem true but aren't, because oil that has truly been refined by fire can't hold any water. So those who are filled with the blazing fire of truth inside, when they encounter people with different values, it's easy for conflicts in logic, culture, and tradition to arise. Especially with those in the church who are lukewarm, doctrinal teaching often leads to conflict. Isn't this kind of conflict actually good? Isn't this exactly what Jesus wanted? In other words, you can have your own perspective. He's entitled to His own perspective. Then you all start to talk it over. You begin to challenge each other's views. You start searching for answers. You begin to seek what the Bible truly teaches. This is called heartfelt study. This is what it means for deep to call unto deep. It means we learn from each other, your understanding and mine. That way, we become more complete. That's what Jesus meant. So when truth brings about conflict, conflict leads to wisdom. Wisdom helps us mature in truth. If he doesn't move in a positive direction, if he heads in a negative direction, he'll end up creating divisions among people, setting people against each other, just like when Jesus was living on earth. His words and actions challenged the Jewish people and the scribes' understanding of the Messiah, because Jesus was the one who sparked it all. He himself was the source of that spark. Jesus claimed to be the Messiah sent by God, but the scribes believed no one knew where the Messiah would come from. Nobody knew. What do you call this? A difference in perspectives. There was a conflict of beliefs. The religious teachers said, "We know where you're from. You're from Nazareth. You're the carpenter's son. We all know where you were born. But when the Messiah comes, no one will know where he comes from. So you can't be the Messiah." While Jesus was teaching in the temple, Jesus said to them, "I was sent by God." Some wanted to arrest him, but others believed in him. Why is that? See, here's the thing. This man has performed so many miracles. Even if the Messiah himself came, he wouldn't do as many miracles as this man has. So, if you look at the facts, I think he really is who he says he is. He is sent by God. So, the Pharisees and the crowd, they were coming from different perspectives, and they started debating about it. But in the end, the Pharisees and chief priests decided to arrest Jesus. But those who followed him began to reflect, is this man truly who he claims to be? The Son of God. He is the Messiah sent by God. What other controversies did Jesus stir up? On the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles, a large crowd watched as the priests poured out water. During this religious ceremony, Jesus called out in a loud voice, "If anyone is thirsty, let them come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, streams of living water will flow from within them." This man was incredibly bold. He drew everyone's attention to himself. So everyone started thinking, could this man be the prophet? To the Jews, that prophet everyone knows exactly who they're talking about. They're referring to when Moses was nearing the end of his life, God said, "I will raise up a prophet like you from among them. I will give him the words he is to speak. He will pass on everything I command him to you. Anyone who doesn't listen to the words he speaks in my name, I myself will call them to account." This prophet that Moses spoke of, his status is even greater than Moses's. Anyone who refuses to listen to that prophet must be put to death. So, for the Jewish people, that prophet holds a status just like Moses. Exalted and great. Some people say he's a prophet. Some people say he's the Messiah. Others say, if this man really is the Messiah, would the Messiah come from Galilee? Our scriptures clearly state, the Messiah is a descendant of David, and David came from Bethlehem. Now, you're saying this man, who seems like the Messiah, he's from Galilee. You really don't know what you're talking about. So once again, the crowd started arguing because of Jesus. There was more conflict. So Jesus himself, what he said to the Jews, with these Pharisees and priests, their deeply held beliefs, he sparked many debates and controversies, including Jesus healing on the Sabbath. Because healing on the Sabbath, for the rabbis, for the Pharisees, this was considered a serious violation. So these Pharisees, these scribes and priests, when they saw Jesus healing on the Sabbath, wanted to put him to death. Not only because he broke the Sabbath, but also because Jesus said, "My Father is still working to this day. I work too." Jesus referred to himself as God. He considered himself equal to God. So he deeply angered the authorities, these so-called devout believers. Then the Jews, regarding Jesus acting on the Sabbath, healed a man who was born blind. They were especially critical. Healing someone born blind was one way they tested him to see if he met one of the Messiah's signs. While Jesus was meeting the Messiah's criteria, Jesus was showing who he truly was. But the Pharisees responded, "He's considered a sinner." So they called in his parents. His parents definitely knew who had healed him, but they didn't dare to say it. They said, "Yes, this is our son. But he's an adult now, so you should ask him yourselves." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders, because the Jewish leaders had already agreed that anyone who confessed Jesus as the Messiah would be thrown out of the synagogue. So when it came to what Jesus said, even though everything he said was true for people living at that time, all of this completely upended their understanding of the Messiah. their long-held beliefs, and their views on traditional doctrine. So this led to significant conflict. Major disputes and divisions arose. Jesus even lost his life because of it. So things became very polarized. But it can also spark something meaningful in our lives. It broadens our understanding. But when what we say challenges people's views on life, ethics, and the spiritual world, on eternal life, authority, and values, it can cause intense conflict. And when that conflict takes a negative turn, you will end up breaking away. The strong will push out the weak. The Gospel of Mark says, "Be on your guard, because people will turn you over to the authorities, and you will be beaten in the synagogues." This is another example of polarization. Just like we mentioned about healing the man born blind because his parents were afraid of being thrown out of the synagogue, to them, the synagogue was the center of their community life. It showed whether you were accepted by society. If you were expelled from the synagogue, it's as if you've been completely cut off from society. It's not just about being separated from your family. It's about being separated from the entire Jewish community. For them, it's like being cut off from their religious community, especially since they had lost their nation. During the period of exile, if I'm already wandering across the world and I still can't find acceptance within my own community, then my life is truly hopeless. That's why the synagogue is so important to them. It is absolutely vital. And what about the guilds? It's an organization that oversees the synagogue. You could say it's kind of like the Vatican. It has the authority to give orders. Its orders go out to all their churches. The synagogue is similar to a Catholic church. The council holds authority like the Vatican does. So matters are handed over to the council. It's a bit like a religious tribunal. It has the power to regulate what you say, so the whole council is opposing Jesus. Here it says, you need to be cautious. Because when you confess Jesus as the Christ, someone might bring you before the religious tribunal. You'll be judged right there. When this passionate church raises up a believer who refuses to compromise, and that believer finds himself in a church that's at odds with him, or in an organization, they'll clash with his understanding of the truth, and serious conflict will arise. Why is that? Because he's challenged authority and gone against the organization's core values, so they'll put him in a position where he can be judged. That kind of dedication to the truth, aside from dealing with the breakdown of religious systems, conflict can also lead to divisions within one's own family. Struggles can emerge from within the family itself. As it says in the Gospel of Luke, from now on, 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Pretty much every relationship will experience conflict. Everyone has their own perspective. Everyone finds it hard to get along with the other. Everyone wants to outdo the other. Why is that? Because when you live together as a family, it's the hardest situation to avoid or sidestep. Especially when it comes to matters of faith, there's no room for ambiguity. If you're constantly pursuing it, then you'll inevitably become increasingly incompatible with the other side. And when this conflict reaches its breaking point, the Gospel of Matthew says, brother will betray brother, and father will hand over his son to death. You have to go to this extreme. Doesn't that have its advantages too? If there's no benefit for him, he just looks the other way. Isn't that right? Or you could just go out and start your own thing. If I'm in China, you can go all the way to Africa. Stay as far away from me as you can. Isn't that an option too? But why send him to his doom? Is there some gain in it? If I send you to your doom, do I get something out of it? And for my name's sake, you will be hated by everyone. So, this is a result of opposing viewpoints. In the end times, church, the blazing truth will spread, and with it will come division and persecution. God has already revealed this to us. This is the pattern and direction for the future. Let's keep this in our hearts. We also ask God to make us wise as serpents and innocent as doves. We shouldn't fall into extremes. We walk in both grace and knowledge, growing in a balanced life. We're not here to clash head to head. When the time comes, is God really like this? He calls us to lay down our lives for our faith. We will be given grace when the time comes. It's not because we want to fight or be hostile toward others, or because we want to compete with others. When it comes to our words, we feel like we always have to win the argument, or always have the upper hand in discussions, or we stubbornly hold on to a certain truth and lack a humble, teachable spirit. It's easy for us to create division, so we ask God to teach us how to be wise in the end times church, how we can endure, to stay true to your own faith, to have a positive impact, to ignite a fire with Jesus, to inspire the pursuit of truth, to spread like wildfire. But we also pray that God keeps us safe in His hands. We'll continue next time. What other things are happening in the end times church? God bless you all.
I will prepare, I will wait. Walk your path, never turn away. I will watch, I will pray, till all nations